pressure, strong enough to crush steel. At the deepest point of the Mariana Trench, the ocean becomes something entirely different. It is no longer the blue, life-filled water we see from the surface. It becomes pressure, the physical weight of nearly 11 kilometers of seawater pressing downward under gravity. An immense, crushing force pressing down from every direction. Nearly 11,000 meters of water sit above the deepest part of the trench, a place known as Challenger Deep. That towering column of ocean creates a pressure environment almost impossible for humans to imagine. Down there, the pressure exceeds 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. That is roughly the same pressure as having 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of a single human body. At that level, even strong materials struggle to survive. To put it into perspective, if a normal submarine were lowered into the Mariana Trench, its hull would collapse almost instantly. The immense pressure would crush it like a soda can. For decades, engineers believed that even solid steel structures would fail under such conditions. Only specially designed deep-sea vehicles with extremely thick pressure spheres have been able to reach these depths safely. When filmmaker and explorer James Cameron descended to Challenger Deep in 2012 aboard the Deep-Sea Challenger, the submersible relied on a specially engineered steel pressure sphere to survive the crushing force of the ocean. Scientists often describe the environment at the bottom of the trench as one of the most hostile places on Earth. Not only is the pressure extreme, but the water temperature hovers just above freezing, and sunlight never reaches these depths. For a long time, researchers assumed that life simply could not exist there. After all, living cells are delicate systems. Proteins must maintain precise shapes to function. Membranes must remain flexible. Chemical reactions must occur within narrow limits. Under thousands of atmospheres of pressure, these fragile biological structures should collapse. And yet, the deep ocean continues to challenge those assumptions. When researchers began exploring the deepest parts of the Mariana Trench using remotely operated vehicles and deep-sea landers, they discovered something astonishing. Life. Small crustaceans crawling along the sediment, strange gelatinous animals drifting through the water, and even fish living at depths once thought impossible. Among the most remarkable discoveries are Hadal snailfish, delicate vertebrates that have been observed at depths greater than 8,000 meters. These animals appear fragile, with thin bones and soft bodies, yet they survive in pressures that would destroy most human-made machines. Instead of resisting the pressure, many deep-sea organisms adapt by becoming flexible. Their bodies contain fewer rigid structures that could collapse. Their cells produce special molecules that help stabilize proteins under extreme pressure, allowing life to function in conditions that would normally break biological systems apart. In other words, the animals of the Mariana Trench do not fight the crushing force of the ocean. They evolve around it. The result is an ecosystem unlike anything found near the surface. Creatures here grow slowly, reproduce rarely, and conserve energy in ways scientists are still trying to understand. Every expedition into the trench reveals species never before seen by science. And yet, despite these discoveries, the Mariana Trench remains largely unexplored. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, more than 80% of the global ocean remains unmapped and largely unseen. Each deep-sea mission reveals new species and new biological strategies for surviving extreme environments. What was once believed to be a lifeless abyss is now understood to be something far more complex, a place where the pressure can crush steel, but not life. Total darkness. No sunlight ever reaches. Yet at first glance, the ocean seems full of light. Sunlight dances across the waves, illuminating coral reefs, fish, and vast underwater landscapes. Near the surface, the ocean is bright, vibrant, and alive. Energy flows easily through this world, powered by the sun. But that brightness does not last forever. As we descend deeper into the ocean, sunlight begins to fade. Different colors of light disappear at different depths. Red is the first color to vanish, often within the first 5 to 10 meters. Orange and yellow fade soon after, leaving mostly blue light to penetrate deeper into the ocean. By the time we reach a few hundred meters below the surface, nearly all colors have disappeared, and the ocean becomes a dim, monochrome world. At around 200 meters, we enter what scientists call the twilight zone. The light here is faint and blue, barely strong enough to see by. Plants can no longer survive because photosynthesis becomes impossible. The vast forests of plankton that support the ocean's food chain slowly disappear. And as we continue downward, even that dim light vanishes. By the time we reach 1,000 meters, the ocean enters a realm known as the midnight zone. Here, sunlight never arrives. No sunrise, no sunset, no glow from the surface above, only endless darkness. The Mariana Trench lies far below even this level, reaching depths of nearly 11,000 meters. At that distance, sunlight has long since been absorbed by the water above. The deepest parts of the trench have likely been in total darkness for millions of years. For human eyes, such darkness would be overwhelming. Even the most powerful flashlights struggle to illuminate more than a few meters ahead. Cameras require specialized lighting systems just to capture brief glimpses of the seafloor. Without artificial light, the trench is a world where vision simply does not work. And yet, life still exists there. In fact, many creatures of the deep ocean have evolved extraordinary ways to survive in total darkness. Some animals rely on highly sensitive eyes, capable of detecting the faintest glimmers of light from distant bioluminescent organisms. Others abandon vision entirely and instead use pressure sensors or chemical signals to navigate their environment. But perhaps the most remarkable adaptation is the ability to create light itself. Throughout the deep ocean, countless organisms produce light through a chemical reaction known as bioluminescence. Inside specialized organs called photophores, molecules react with oxygen to generate flashes of glowing blue or green light. To us, these lights can look beautiful, tiny sparks flickering through the darkness. But in the deep sea, light is a tool for survival. Some animals use glowing lures to attract prey. The infamous anglerfish, for example, dangles a bioluminescent lure in front of its mouth, drawing curious animals directly toward its waiting jaws. Others use light to communicate with potential mates, sending signals across the dark water. And some species use bioluminescence to disappear. By matching the faint glow filtering down from distant surface waters, animals can erase their silhouette and become invisible to predators below. This strategy, known as counter-illumination, allows creatures to hide in plain sight. In the darkness of the Mariana Trench, light becomes something completely different from what we experience on land. It is no longer a constant presence. Instead, it appears only in brief flashes. A predator hunting, a signal sent through the water, or a creature attempting to vanish. For scientists exploring the trench, these brief glimmers can be both beautiful and unsettling. When submersibles turn off their lights, the darkness becomes almost absolute. Occasionally, small sparks appear in the distance, glowing animals drifting slowly through the water column. It is a reminder that even in the deepest darkness on Earth, life has found a way to illuminate the void. Yet life exists, and it's thriving. For a long time, scientists believed the deepest parts of the ocean were lifeless. The Mariana Trench seemed too extreme for anything to survive. Crushing pressure, near-freezing temperatures, and complete darkness stretching for thousands of meters in every direction. It looked like a world where life should simply not exist. But the deep ocean had other plans. When scientists began sending cameras and deep-sea landers into the trench, what they discovered changed our understanding of life on Earth. Instead of emptiness, they found an ecosystem. Creatures moved slowly across the sediment. Strange organisms drifted through the water. Tiny crustaceans swarmed across the seafloor, feeding on whatever nutrients reached these depths. Life was not just present, it was active. One of the most remarkable animals discovered in these depths is the Hadal snailfish, a delicate-looking fish that lives thousands of meters below the ocean surface. These fish appear almost fragile, with soft bodies and thin bones, yet they thrive in environments where pressure exceeds 1,000 times that at sea level. Their secret lies in chemistry. Instead of building strong skeletons to resist pressure, deep-sea animals often evolve flexible bodies that allow pressure to pass through them without causing damage. Their cells contain special molecules, such as trimethylamine N-oxide, TMAO, which helps stabilize proteins under extreme pressure, allowing essential biological processes to continue functioning even under extreme compression. In other words, life here does not resist the environment, it adapts to it, and the deeper scientists explore, the more unusual life becomes. Amphipods, small shrimp-like crustaceans, roam the trench floor in large numbers, feeding on organic particles that drift down from above. Some species grow surprisingly large compared to their shallow water relatives, a phenomenon scientists call deep-sea gigantism. Then there are sea cucumbers that crawl slowly across the seabed, ingesting sediment and extracting whatever nutrients they can find. Transparent jellyfish drift through the water like living ghosts. And bacteria, invisible to the naked eye, form the foundation of entire food webs, breaking down organic material and recycling nutrients in an environment where food is scarce. Occasionally, something enormous falls from the surface, a dead whale sinking slowly through the ocean. When it reaches the trench floor, the carcass becomes a feast for the deep. Scavengers arrive within hours. Crustaceans, worms, and microorganisms consume the remains in stages that can last for decades. In the deep ocean, a single whale fall can support entire communities of life. But perhaps the most surprising discovery is how resilient these ecosystems are. Despite the crushing pressure, the darkness, and the scarcity of food, life does not merely survive in the Mariana Trench, it flourishes. Each new expedition into the trench continues to reveal species never before documented. Many of these animals have evolved unique biological strategies that scientists are still trying to understand. Some organisms produce specialized enzymes that function under extreme pressure. Others have flexible cell membranes that remain stable despite the intense forces surrounding them. Every discovery expands our understanding of what life is capable of. The Mariana Trench reminds us that life is far more adaptable than we once believed. If organisms can survive here, in the deepest and darkest parts of Earth's oceans, similar life may one day be discovered in the hidden oceans of distant worlds, such as Europa or Enceladus. Even here, microplastics have been found. For centuries, the Mariana Trench was imagined as one of the last untouched places on Earth, a world so deep, so remote, and so extreme that nothing from the human world could ever reach it. Nearly 11 kilometers of ocean water separate the trench from the surface. For most of history, that distance felt like a barrier, a shield protecting the deepest ecosystems on the planet. But recent discoveries have revealed something troubling. Even here, at the very bottom of the ocean, traces of human pollution have arrived. In 2019, researchers studying amphipods, small shrimp-like crustaceans living in the deepest parts of the trench, made an unexpected discovery. Inside the bodies of these animals, they found microplastics, tiny fragments of plastic fibers, particles so small they drift through the ocean like dust. These plastics originate from everyday human products, synthetic clothing, packaging materials, and disposable plastics that slowly break down into microscopic pieces. Once released into the environment, they can travel enormous distances through ocean currents. Eventually, some of those particles sink, down through the water column, past the twilight zone, past the midnight zone, and all the way to the deepest parts of the ocean. Scientists have now found microplastics in animals living more than 10,000 meters below the surface. In some samples, plastic fibers were present in the majority of the organisms studied. It is a startling reminder that the deep sea is not isolated from the rest of the planet. Everything on Earth's surface is connected. What we throw away does not simply disappear. It moves through rivers, oceans, and ecosystems until it reaches places we once believed were beyond our reach. Creatures moved slowly across the sediment. Strange organisms drifted through the water. Tiny crustaceans swarmed across the seafloor, feeding on whatever nutrients reached these depths. Life was not just present, it was active. One of the most remarkable animals discovered in these depths is the Hadal snailfish, a delicate-looking fish that lives thousands of meters below the ocean surface. These fish appear almost fragile, with soft bodies and thin bones, yet they thrive in environments where pressure exceeds 1,000 times that at sea level. Their secret lies in chemistry. Instead of building strong skeletons to resist pressure, deep-sea animals often evolve flexible bodies that allow pressure to pass through them without causing damage. Their cells contain special molecules, such as trimethylamine N-oxide, TMAO, which helps stabilize proteins under extreme pressure, allowing essential biological processes to continue functioning even under extreme compression. In other words, life here does not resist